Welcome back, garden friends, for another episode of Field Trippin'. I'm your host, Kevin Jordan. In today's episode, we're going to be talking all about propagating succulents. Behind me here, I have a ton of succulents. They're wonderful little plants that are very popular now. They grow great outside or on patios, whether in the ground or in pots. And here I have them growing up a vertical wall. They're doing really, really well. And so for us, it's great because we have a huge diversity of variety behind me. I'll have to do a count, but I think we have maybe over 30 different varieties of succulents on 3 different walls of a garden shed that we have built with living wall around it. And so today what I'm going to do is actually, it's a great time of the year. We're kind of just slowly exiting the cool season. We're entering the warm season, and for me it's a great time to get in here and cut back some of this wall to get rid of some of the overgrowth for some of the plants that did a little too well. But really I want to take some cuttings for propagation. I want to make more plants from these plants. And so especially the ones that have done really well that people have noticed and want to get their hands on, we're going to come through here and take some cuttings. And so that involves using your hands by snapping them off, or even on a thicker branch if you need to, you can bust out your handy bypass pruners. But really I would get a black plastic tray or a cardboard box, something like that, and I'll show you what we have here, because you're going to want to collect those. You're going to give them enough space, but also you want to put them in an environment where they can breathe. You don't want to get them overly wet and moldy too quick. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take stem cuttings and actual branches, entire branches off some of these plants, almost dividing even chunks in a way. But and then we're also going to take leaf cuttings, which is a really easy way to propagate succulents. You probably noticed this at the nurseries. All those leaves fall down as those plants get jostled around, and then you notice some of them sitting on the ground. And you may notice this at home in your own gardens, that those leaves that fall down, after they leave there, they stay there long enough, they start forming roots, and then those are little plants ready to go. So you take those leaf cuttings and you can put them right into soil and then get them to grow out once those roots have formed. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to take a combination of cuttings, both stem and cuttings, as well as leaf cuttings. And so each are both have their values. With the leaf cuttings, which is great, is you could have one plant with a bunch of leaves, and then you could divide that one plant into many different plants pretty soon. The problem is they all start really small, but then they'll catch up quick. With the stem cutting, where it's a larger branch, like a cutting of a branch, usually you have a larger chunk of your plant ready to go. So once that one forms roots, you actually have a pretty well-formed plant ready to go. And so there's some differences there. We do them both variety here for our succulents, just because it works out so well. Oftentimes the leaves just fall down naturally. We collect them. Other times we'll go in there and purposely twist them off, set them aside, let them kind of callus over that little connection point, let it callus over that wound site, and then it starts, without even doing anything, you'll see roots shoot out, kind of like little whiskers, right, coming out of a cat's face or something. They just shoot out all crazy, and then you just gently put those into some soil, and then bada bing, you got yourself a whole new plant off of one leaf. And so that's what's great about succulents, is that they're so easy to propagate, meaning make more of. So you don't have to spend a lot of money once you have a variety to make more of it. If your friends want it, family members want it, you say, hey, I got you. Let me get you a cutting, and we're good to go. And so in today's video, we're going to talk about how to do that, best methods, which is really actually super simple. And I think anybody who tries it after watching this video or doing any other research on their own, you'll probably find out it's actually very simple, and you're going to be super successful right away, because it really, out of all the different plants that you could try to propagate, it's one of the easier ones to do, just because it doesn't really take a whole lot of effort. So let's do it right now. Let's get to it. All right, so the one bummer part about taking a cutting is that you are removing part of that plant, and then how that plant looked, it's going to look a little different for a little while, but it's kind of like getting a haircut, right? You might not like it at first, or you're upset, but it's always going to grow back. It typically grows back or whatever. Or like cutting your lawn or trimming a shrub. It's like, as long as you don't do too much damage, it'll grow back just fine. And it's very true for succulents. And so a lot of these plants, I'm just going to get in here, and I know they look really good, and be like, oh my God, don't hurt them, they look so good. You could snap them off with just your hand, boom, and then you can bring it out. And so that I just gently snapped it off right there. Hopefully you can see that. And so what I'll do is I'll just let that sit right here, and I'll give it a few days. Give it maybe like a week. I'll let that little connection site heal up. And so I'm going to do the same thing. I can snap it right off. If you don't want to snap it, because if you're feeling like it's going to create a wound that is a little bit uneven or rough, because you want nice clean wounds, clean up your pruners, a little bit of light bleach and water, and kind of get them all cleaned up, because you don't want to transfer disease. But then you get in here, and then you just find your spot. Ooh, and do the same thing. And so typically, you know, it's nice to use the cutters because you definitely get a nice clean cut, and then you can recut if you need to. And so oftentimes too is as I take these cuttings, right? And so that's a branch cutting, like a stem cutting. And so what we can do with these is actually, I want roots to form off the bottom eventually anyways. And so I'll gently knock some of these, that bottom like 2 inches of leaves. Oh, but I'm losing them right here. I'll knock those few little leaves off, and I'll let them sit in the tray with this, and then later on I'll come back and get those. So now I'll have both the leaves to grow, because that'll form roots right out of there. Believe you me, it certainly will. And then we'll have a bunch of the leaves ready to go. I mean, literally probably hundreds, if not just dozens of each variety. And then we'll have, so that, which is great, because then we have leaf cuttings and the stem cuttings. All right, so basically I'm just going through and just take more. It's a lot easier to do with both my hands, so I will set this tray down and just show you a little bit of a few more cuts that I can do. Because like I said, some folks get worried, oh my gosh, my plant will never grow back, you know, or it doesn't look great. It's sometimes you got to just cut your plant a little bit. It will regrow. And then what's nice about this wall right here is I actually have a lot of varieties of plants in here, and even a few weeds that kind of snuck in there from the birds and the wind that need some attention as well. So what's nice is if you cut back some, others tend to kind of take off in their place, or that plant itself, like I said, will just heal up and come right back. And so I'm not going to take too much off one plant. I'll just kind of go around and spread out my misery on all these plants, because I want a lot of cuttings, because I know I'm going to want to have more of these. These are going to do, I just fertilized these last week too, so they're ready to kind of regrow anyhow. We're getting some nice, well, warm weather here soon, and so it's all good. I'm just going to take a little bit. Like I said, you don't want to go crazy on one plant and cut every last healthy branch off of it, but if you get in there and do a healthy cutback, the plant will be fine. And that's basically it. That's what we're going to do. Is I'm going to go around this whole wall, and I'm going to find varieties that either we don't have enough growing of, or that we want to grow more of, and we're going to take those cuttings. And you can see, so some of the branch cuttings can get pretty good size. You know, we can take even some of these bigger ones. We'll take and put some of those aside. Other cuttings might be really small, and it might just be, you know, a little division or a chunk of a plant. And then you take that, and before you know it, you know, it's off and running. All right, so here's what I meant, but I had them all in trays, kind of spread out, give them a little space from each other. We're gonna let that connection point right there, let that connection point right there get calloused over, harden up, and then roots will start shooting out of these. I even grabbed some other varieties of succulents there, and some of them actually, you can actually see already have roots already on them, just growing right out of them. But we'll still wait anyhow, give them a day or 2 or 3, let that heal up, and then we'll throw them with some nice little potting mix. You can see I got a bunch of these ones. Let me see if I can get them out of that direct sun. See how they're in the direct sun there? Not super ideal. I mean, they're pretty resilient. It's kind of cool out, but even still, I'm gonna try to tuck them back in here, and I don't mind a little bright light, but yeah, there we go, much better. See how that's out of the direct light? Those ones are gonna be a lot happier. It's still kind of like nice, cool weather, a slight warmth to the air, but you can see some other plants I got going up there. But really, that's what we're after. We're gonna let them sit for a while. You come back and visit the next video. We'll show you part 2 of this, and we'll get them potted up, planted up, and then we'll check on their root development and see how fast it takes for them to actually form roots. But that's it for now. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the like and subscribe button. Comment if you have anything to add to the discussion. We'd love to hear it. But from our garden to yours, happy gardening, best wishes, take care. Time to propagate. Let's get back out in that garden, y'all.